The theme for tonight's dinner is cheap and cheerful. For about $6 a serving, this one pot meal will feed your family of 4, and you'll probably have leftovers. We're taking it south of the border today with Mexican-inspired flavors. It's really a crowd pleaser, but it's also one that you can sneak a whole bunch of veggies in and no one will be the wiser. I hope you'll stick with me. Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm really happy to have you here. Today is a great, easy, one-pot weeknight meal. Total, the ingredients for this meal are about $35 in my local area. I think you can get about 6 servings out of it, so that's about $6 a person. We're making a one-pot Southwestern-inspired skillet with ground beef, a whole bunch of cheese, salsa, lots of veggies, black beans, rice, cilantro. Pretty customizable to what your family enjoys and very easy. Leftovers we'll keep throughout the week. So let's get into it. The first thing we're gonna do is brown our ground beef in an oven-safe skillet on my stove. At the end of this meal, we're gonna toss it under the broiler to get the cheese nice and bubbly. You don't have to do that. You can totally make this completely on top of the stove, especially if it's really hot out and you don't wanna turn your oven on. So I'm just gonna get this ground beef browned. So this is one of those dishes where as soon as you've chopped your veggies, you can get them in the pan. I'm just gonna dice up an onion. Just kind of bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna add our onion to our beef. Next, I'm gonna process these zucchini. I don't mind a bigger chunk of zucchini, so I'm gonna keep mine in half moons. But if your family is particular, you can cut them as small as you want. You can even grate them into this dish and they'll just disappear in the background. And then I'm gonna process this pepper. Similar size chunks as our zucchini. Now, if you don't like red pepper or zucchini, leave them out. Put something in that you do like. Good additions here could be frozen corn, if you've got that in your freezer, or canned corn. You could add some kale or spinach into this. The vegetables are not the star of the show here. They just bulk it up a little bit and meld into the skillet meal in a way that is really nice. If you need to disguise vegetables for whatever reason in your household, this would be a great one to do that in. I'm just gonna give our beef and onions a quick stir. So I just diced up our jalapenos. Next, I'm gonna open this can of black beans. As I was dicing that zucchini, I had a memory of my dad. My dad was a farmer in Montana and he liked to grow a garden. And he would plant like 10 zucchini plants. And if you've ever grown zucchini, you know that that's a lot of zucchini. So every time I would go visit him in the summer, I would spend like 2 full days processing zucchini for him. I promised myself I would never do that. And somehow in my garden right now, I have 3 zucchini plants and I have no idea why. Why did I do that? Why? It'll go to a good home, but zucchini is very prolific and by the end of the season, I'm really sick of it. I'm gonna drain these black beans. Our beef is brown, our onions are translucent, so I'm gonna drop the rest of these veggies. Next up is our spice mixture. When I priced out this meal, I assumed that you had salt and pepper and a neutral flavor oil, but none of the other spices here. So if you've purchased these for another meal in the past, there won't be additional cost to it. We're using such a tiny little bit of each container that you'll have it for weeks or months to come, depending on how much you cook. So the first spice is cumin. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of cumin, measured into the palm of my hand as always. Next is paprika. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of paprika. 1, 2, which seems to be all I have. And finally, about a tablespoon of chili powder. Several good grinds of pepper. And about a tablespoon of salt. Mix that up, and that spice mixture is ready for our skillet. Meat and veg are looking good. They're gonna cook for a few minutes until the zucchini and the red pepper get a little bit softer. So the last thing really to do from a prep perspective is chop up our cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, substitute parsley, or you can leave it out completely. It's nice to have a little something green on top and inside the dish. Good enough for me. All right, I'm just gonna get cleaned up a little bit. Everything else is gonna take place over at the stove. So when those veggies are sweated out a little bit, we're gonna finish this dish off. Comes together really quickly. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, our zucchini has cooked down. I've got some nice color on that beef. Now it's just a matter of seeing how much we can fit in our skillet. So before I add most of the ingredients, I am going to bloom these spices a little bit. It just brings out as much flavor in them as possible by adding them to oil before we add a whole bunch of liquid or other ingredients to them. So just kind of stir them in the bottom of your skillet, cook them just a little bit. I'm gonna be using leftover rice. If you don't have leftover rice, you can actually use instant rice with this. In addition to adding salsa, add the appropriate amount of water to cook your rice, and then just simmer the rice down right in the same dish. Okay, this looks really nicely spiced. So in goes, big spoonful of garlic. Our jalapenos. Most of our cilantro, I'm gonna reserve a little bit for the top. Our black beans. Judge how much space you have left. Some of our rice. Now I'm just gonna stir all of this to combine it. Try to make as little mess as possible. We mostly have success. I think we're mostly combined here. And our failure comes in the amount of zucchini that is now scattered across my cooktop. The last step then is to just add a can of salsa or a jar of salsa. You can use whichever one you want here. You can even just add some beef broth, or you could even add some water. All we're trying to do is give it a little bit of body, give it something to kind of meld into so that it feels like a cohesive skillet. Right now it kind of feels like a whole bunch of ingredients stirred together, but if you add something to kind of bring it all together, it really bumps it up a notch. I can't not rinse a jar out when I've got something like salsa. I just hate to lose that last little bit, so there we go. All we're doing here is stirring to combine. Everything is cooked at this point. I'm actually gonna kill the heat under this, and I'm gonna toss my broiler on. And I'm gonna give this one quick taste for seasonings. This would be a great time to add more salt or pepper. It's great. It's a little bit spicy. I can definitely taste the chili powder. Super delicious flavors. And then comes the cheese sprinkle. So I have a combination of what was left in my fridge. This is a little bit of queso fresco, this is sharp cheddar, and this is sharp white cheddar. So in total, I probably have like a cup and a half of cheese. I don't think you need this much cheese, but you can cheese or not cheese to your heart's content. Last step, it goes under the broiler. Okay, under the broiler, keep an eye on this. It can go pretty quickly. So I'm guessing a couple minutes here. There we have it. Pretty delicious looking Southwestern skillet. All right, so my serving suggestion for this is with chips and a little bit of sour cream, but if you don't have that, you can eat it just on its own. You can serve it over lettuce, you can serve it over more rice, however you like. Casseroles, do they ever look that appetizing unless you can also smell them? Okay, dip a chip in. This is so hearty. Really, you can't taste any of the veggies. You could dice your zucchini significantly smaller to truly hide it in this dish, but no one's gonna know what veggies you have going on in there. It's so flavorful. I'd say we were successful in making a cheap and cheerful meal. Great flavors, the creaminess of the cheese, the heartiness of all the vegetables. This is a pretty well-balanced meal as well. You don't really need anything else. You've got a ton of veggies, you've got some protein, you've got some carbs, so you're pretty much set in this one pot. I hope you try to recreate it at home and put your own spin on it using whatever veggies you have in your fridge and even changing up the spices if you'd like. This one's pretty adaptable. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you'd like to see more one-pot affordable meals from me, please subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you next time. Cheers.